Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. Dear students of grade 8, welcome to your biology class. Today the topic which we are going to discuss is related to the plant cell wall, that is the outer covering of plant which is called cell wall, यानी सेल की बैरूनी दीवार. This topic is given or mentioned in unit number 3, the cell, on page number 33 of your biology textbook. Dear students, main objective of reading this topic, cell wall, is to understand that cell wall is the basic component, basic cellular component of the plant cell. And without it, the plant cell will not hold its shape and even not control its function. So let's begin with the reading of this topic, cell wall. The cell wall surrounds the plasma membrane of plant cells. Cell membrane plant cell की plasma membrane के अतराफ में पाई जाती है. It is rigid inert covering secreted and deposited outside the cell membrane. ये एक hard और ऐसी कवरिंग है, ऐसी आउटर वॉल है जिस पर किसी चीज़ का असर नहीं होता. ये इतनी ज़्यादा रिजिड है कि ज़्यादातर इस पर कोई केमिकल इसको मुतासर नहीं कर सकता या इस पर अफेक्ट नहीं डाल सकता. और इसकी जो एग्जैक्ट पोजीशन है वो सेल मेम्ब्रेन के अतराफ में होती है. From here up to here, the cell membrane, your heading will be location. Note it down. The first heading, subheading, the cell wall से लेकर cell membrane तक जो heading आपने note down करनी है, that is location. Now, next heading, structure. It consists of 3 layers, namely middle lamella, primary wall and secondary wall. अगर इसके ओवरऑल स्ट्रक्चर पर बात की जाए तो ये 3 लेयर्स यानी 3 तहों पर मुश्तमिल होती हैं. यानी सेल वॉल कोई एक लेयर नहीं है बल्कि ये 3 लेयर से मिलकर बनी है. फर्स्ट लेयर which is present in the center of the primary and secondary wall is called middle lamella. Outer wall, primary wall, and the basically you can say the wall which is present inside the primary wall is called secondary wall. Here you can see the diagram, and in this figure you can clearly observe, clearly see that primary cell wall is this thin covering which is actually green in color, and inside it you will find the broader portion. This broad portion is representing the next layer of cell wall called secondary cell wall. So this broad portion in these 4 plant cells is called secondary cell wall, while the middle layer, which is called the middle lamella, is present. Here you can see between the 2 plant cells, the middle one, this middle line which is present between the 2 primary and secondary cell wall is given the name middle lamella. Now the first subheading of your structure of cell wall is middle lamella. It is it's not cut the word it is made up of magnesium and calcium salts of pectin. So pectin is a chemical which is actually composing the middle layer of cell wall called middle lamella, and it is made up of basically 2 different types of salts. First one is called magnesium and the second salt is called calcium salts. What type of nature middle lamella has? It is sticky in nature that holds the neighboring cell walls together. So this will become the nature and the function of the middle lamella, that it is sticky. Sticky means चिपकने वाली, जो कि एक सेल को दूसरे सेल से जोड़ने में या चिपकाने में मदद देती है. And that's why it has normally involved in the function which is actually related to the holding the 2 cell wall or cells together. So that's why it is present in the center. So up to here, your topic, that is the subtopic of middle lamella, is completed. Now the next heading will start from primary cell wall. Primary cell wall contains cellulose fibers. What are cellulose fibers? Basically, these are one of the type of carbohydrates and one of the chemical which is actually composing the primary cell wall. यानी primary cell wall आपकी cellulose fibers से मिलकर बनती है, which are arranged in a criss-cross fashion. यानी वो किस तरीके से arrange होते हैं? criss-cross, क्रॉस की शक्ल में. जैसे टाइल्स आपने देखी होंगी दीवारों पे या फ्लोर्स पे जो टाइल वगैरह वर्क करवाते हैं, तो उस मैनर को, उस तरीके कार से जिस तरह से टाइल्स को प्लेस किया जाता है, उसको हम कहते हैं क्रिस क्रॉस फैशन. व्हाट इज़ द नेचर ऑफ प्राइमरी सेल वॉल? इट इज़ थिन एंड फ्लेक्सिबल. ये पतली होती है और फ्लेक्सिबल होती है. सो इन द डायग्राम यू कैन सी कि ये जो लेयर आपको नज़र आ रही है, दिस वन, ये बहुत ही पतली सी, आपको जो दो लेयर, दो यानी लाइंस के दरमियान में जो एरिया नज़र आ रहा है, इट इज़ प्राइमरी सेल वॉल. Come to the third heading with the next layer of the cell wall, which is called secondary cell wall. From here you will start your next heading, secondary cell wall. Some plant cells like xylem vessels form secondary cell wall inside the primary wall. So in the figure you can see this broad portion which is present inside the primary wall. So this whole part, whole region, whole layer is given the name secondary cell wall. Basically, these type of cell walls are present in those tissues which have to hold the whole plant cells, especially for the conduction of the water. These plant cells or plant tissues must have the secondary wall in order to perform their function. What type of nature secondary cell wall has? It is very thick and rigid structure due to the presence of a chemical. What's the name of the chemical? Here you can see the name of the chemical is lignin. How would we read? Lignin. So secondary cell wall is very thick. ये बहुत thick होती है, मोटी तय है और rigid structure बना रही है. rigid सख्त क्यों है? क्योंकि इसमें एक हार्ड किस्म का, एक बहुत ही सख्त किस्म का केमिकल होता है जिसे तोड़ना बहुत मुश्किल होता है. इट इज़ कॉल्ड लिग्निन, which cements the cellulose fibers together. And what is the function of this secondary cell wall due to the presence of lignin? It actually cements. Cements mean joins the cellulose fibers together. ये प्राइमरी सेल वॉल के अंदर जो सेलुलोज के फाइबर्स होते हैं उनको आपस में जोड़ने में हेल्प करती हैं. सो अप टू हियर योर मेन 3 layers structure starting with middle lamella, primary cell wall and secondary cell wall is ended. Now next heading will begin from cell wall bears or cell wall has. With this word, this new terminology is called plasmodesmata. How would you read? Plasmodesmata. So cell wall bears or has tiny pores, small openings through which neighboring cells form cytoplasmic connections called plasmodesmata. Unfortunately, in this figure, you cannot see those plasmodesmata connections, but I can make for your convenience in between the two cells in this way that these connections are actually joining the two plant cells together, and these pores are actually connecting this white region, as you can see here, cytoplasm. Okay, cytoplasm is connected to another plant cell cytoplasm by means of these pores, and these pores are present in the adjacent cell walls of the two plant cells. And through this connection, materials can easily transport from one cell to another. So these connections which I have drawn here, which I have made here, These connections are given the name plasmodesmata, and these are not present in two plant cells. They can also be present between the other cells, other plant cells. In this way, you can easily make in your books. So label them as plasmodesmata. What are these connections called? Plasmodesmata. Now students, come to the next heading. Starting from algae have cellulose in their cell wall. From this paragraph you will write the heading composition of cell wall. Composition of cell wall. From this heading of chemical composition of cell wall, the first organism, algae or alga, which have cell wall made up of a chemical called cellulose. So algae have cellulose in their cell wall. Another organism is called fungi. So their cell wall is made up of chitin. The cell wall in fungi is made up of chemical called chitin. Here is the chemical cellulose, and now another chemical is called chitin. Third organisms are prokaryotes, which you know about that they do not have nucleus, proper nucleus in them. So they lack proper nucleus. They also possess cell wall made up of peptidoglycan. प्रोकैरियोट्स की सेल वॉल एक कॉम्प्लेक्स मिक्सचर से मिलकर बनती है जिसे हम पेप्टाइडोग्लाइकन कहते हैं. This chemical actually is a combination of two different chemicals. Peptido word comes from protein, that is amino acid, and glycan word comes from glucose or sugar. So it is the combination or composition of two chemicals together, amino acids and sugar. Next organisms are animals and animal-like protists, which are mainly called protozoa. You can call them unicellular organisms, which are resembling with the animal cells. So in these organisms, cell wall is completely absent. They do not have cell wall as an outer covering. Rather, they have cell membrane as outer boundary, as their outer covering. Now, student, your last heading of this discussion is function of cell wall. So, from here, you will give the heading, provide heading, function. Cell wall supports the structure of individual cells and the plant as a whole. So, due to its rigid structure, due to its hard structure, मेनली सेल वॉल क्या कर रही है? सेल वॉल प्लांट को यानी मुकम्मल पौधे को सपोर्ट यानी सहारा दे रही है, उसको होल्ड करके रख रही है, और एक इंडिविजुअल सेल या आपके एक इनफरादी प्लांट सेल के स्ट्रक्चर को भी बनाने की ज़िम्मेदार है. अनदर फंक्शन ऑफ सेल वॉल इज़ इट प्रोटेक्ट्स एंड गिव्स शेप टू द सेल. अपनी हार्ड नेचर रखने की वजह से सेल वॉल का काम क्या है? प्रोटेक्शन, एज वेल एज इट ऑल्सो मेंटेन द शेप ऑफ द प्लांट सेल. प्लांट सेल की जो शेप मैंने आपको लास्ट लेक्चर में बताई थी, इट इज़ समवट रेक्टेंगुलर और हेक्सागोनल इन शेप. हियर यू कैन सी द prominent and permanent shape of the plant cell, which is due to its cell wall. Now come to the last function of the cell wall, which is number 3. Plant cells can undergo turgor pressure or can develop turgor pressure due to the presence of cell wall. What is this turgor pressure about? It is that pressure which is exerted by the internal water on the cell wall. टर्गर प्रेशर वो दबाव है जो पौधे के अंदर से जो मटेरियल स्पेशली पानी है वो एक्सर्ट करता है, अप्लाई करता है सेल वॉल पर. अगर ये टर्गर प्रेशर प्लांट सेल में या पौधों में मेंटेन रहेगा तो पौधा अपनी जो शेप है, अपना सपोर्ट है, वो प्रॉपरली जो है वो मेंटेन रखता रहेगा. तो प्लांट सेल्स जो है वो अपने ट्रिगर प्रेशर को क्यों डेवलप करते हैं, ताकि वो स्टेबिलिटी हासिल कर सकें, एंड दिस स्टेबिलिटी कैन बी अचीव्ड ड्यू टू द प्रेजेंस ऑफ दिस सेल वॉल. So, dear student, this is the topic we have discussed today. We have completed. Now, I am going to show you the simple structure of this figure, plant cell wall. So, here is that figure which you will draw properly in your notebooks. I hope you have understood today's lecture. Allah Hafiz.